Hey, welcome. Hey, welcome to our YouTube channel. I want to encourage you guys, if you are on Facebook or Instagram, go like Dream Chasers Basketball Indie and Dream Chasers B-Ball on Instagram. Take a look at it. A lot of different content for kids. We got a lot of different materials for parents and kids going forward. Like I said, we do live ball handling and different things for kids. Right now I know we're going through this time, this pandemic, but trying to keep our kids in shape and give them a good outlet. So check out Dream Chasers Basketball Indie Facebook, like the page, tell your friends about it. Also, if you like our podcast, like and subscribe. Tell people to listen to it. We're gonna have various different athletes and different people on, just going forward. Today we have on Ray Tolbert, former Mr. Basketball, IU, played under Bobby Knight's tutelage, won a NCAA championship, played in the NBA. Ray is he's from Anderson, and we have him joining on today. Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Harvey. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So I know a lot of people know who Ray Tolbert is, man. What's your story? Grew up in Anderson. Tell us about it.
Well, way back in 1958, brother, I was born in Anderson, Indiana. I'm 61 years old, and I grew up, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I kind of grew up poor. We lived on the west side of Anderson in a area called Hazelwood, and I grew up on humbleness. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have like the amenities like most people had on the east side, but my mom and dad made the best of what we had, and I didn't consider myself poor. I considered myself blessed, and we worked through some things. And my father worked, my mom worked, and my brother My brother was the best athlete in the family, so he had to give up his sports to help make ends meet by working, and that allowed me to freelance to get myself together as far as playing sports. I ran track. I tried football. I got hit by the knee once, then I quit. but I actually, yeah, man. Hey, once you get that knee hit, forget about it. But I decided to run track. I did cross country. I like baseball because my brother played baseball, but they put me out in the outfield. I was bored, man. So I told them I want to play first base or third base. I want to play what our action was, but they didn't want me to do that. So I just stuck with basketball. I grew. When I was in the sixth grade, I was 6 feet tall. And then as I moved up the ladder in age and grades, I grew from 6 feet to 6'9" by the time I was a senior in high school. So I grew quick, man. And believe it or not, I always wanted to be tall. So I prayed about it. I said, Lord, just make me tall, because my grandmother was only 4'11". My mom's mom was only like 5'3", 5'4". But on my mom's side, my grandfather was 6'4". I had two aunts that was 5'11" and 6'1". My mother is like 5'10", but my dad was only 5'10". And his father was only like 5'6". So I said, look, I don't want to be short. No negativity towards short people. I just want to be tall, so I can excel and get my family out of poverty. So, God blessed me in that area. And I, played high school ball. I won a couple regional sectionals, went to the semi-state. We lost that game against Fort Wayne North. They had a guy by the name of Frank Thomas, whose son eventually played for Pike, Chris Thomas, who won a state championship. So there's a lot of history in between when I played and the kids today, or the kids, in the 90s and 2000s. But I got a chance to sign with Indiana University. A lot of people don't know this, but my first choice was Purdue. But you see that IU behind me, 45. I'm proud of that.
Right.
but I got on black. So what does that
Okay.
do?
Okay. So let me stop you. Let me stop you real quick because I want to dig into this thing. So when you were in high school,
Mhm.
was you an impact player as like a freshman early on, or did you
Actually,
have to pay your dues? What was that like?
yeah, that's a good question. Actually, a true story. Um, when I played, well, my coach, high school coach at the time, Phil Buck, who's no longer with us, he didn't believe in playing young people, or I should say rookies at the time, because as a freshman, we couldn't play varsity my freshman year. So I had to
Okay.
excel from the eighth grade to the ninth grade. And by the time I was a sophomore, I had to earn my keep. We had some pretty good athletes there. Our front line was average of 6'8". Chris Falker,
Mm,
Jonathan Watson. We had Richard Nunn. We had Steve Turner. Uh, there's a couple Steve Turner. This Steve Turner is he's Caucasian, but he's still a good
okay.
friend of mine today.
Right.
We had guys like Mark Porter, Doug Bradford, um, Harry Morgan's younger brother, David Morgan, played with me, Oliver Brooks.
Okay.
And we had a pretty good team my sophomore year. We went to the semi-state. Of course, I think I said earlier we got beat, but I had to pay my dues, man. And I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you a true story. We beat the number one team in the state at the time. It was Muncie North. If you go back and watch the history of Muncie North, they had some bad boys on that
Right.
team. Phil
Right.
Eisenbarger, who was a teammate of mine at IU,
Mm,
Sammy Drummer. People don't know the history about Sammy Drummer. Was probably one of the best athletes. He reminds me, well, the guy that's playing now, Zion Williamson.
wow.
This kid played just like Zion Williamson, but he's a right-hander.
Right.
This kid could jump out the gym,
Right.
smooth, didn't show a lot of emotion, but he'll give you 30 in about three quarters.
Right.
So I got a chance to play against those guys, and as I started excelling,
Right.
I had a teammate by the name of Kirk Marillion, and
Okay.
Kirk went to my high school coach. He said, "Listen, even though Ray's a sophomore, you should start Ray." I
Right.
didn't really care if I started or not, as long as I was in the game when it
Right.
counted.
Right.
That's all that mattered to me. I didn't worry about scoring. I didn't worry about percentages, rebounds, block shots. I just wanted to win. My
Right.
focus was winning, and
Right.
so he made a great gesture. He went to the coach and said, "You need to start Ray. I'll come off the bench." I didn't have no idea what was happening, but to this day, I thank Kirk for that. And his brother Kyle and I are still good Facebook friends. Kirk passed away a few years ago, but
Right.
I really appreciate those things, the little things that made me who I am and where I am today, because people made the gesture, took the initiative to help me be a better player. So, yeah, man. So it was hard coming up, and but I worked my way through it until my senior year. I was
Hmm.
going to go to Anderson High School,
Hmm.
which is our rivals, because I was in that district, but I was bussed out to Madison Heights. I told my high school coach at the time I wanted to play for Anderson. He says, "No, you're not going to play for Anderson. And if you do, I'll make sure you don't play your last year."
Right.
He
Right.
couldn't do that, but I didn't know that because
Right.
I didn't want to, feel bad about letting my teammates down
Right.
and
Right.
becoming a sore name in the city. So
Right.
I stayed with it. We only won like 13 games my senior year.
Right.
I was averaging a triple double pretty much, but I was triple teamed every time we played, man,
Really.
and it was tough.
Right.
We had some pretty decent players, but not like we had my sophomore and junior years.
Right. Right.
So
So, it seems like you really just took the reins by
yeah.
yourself. I mean, you made yourself. What role did your parents play in that? Like,
Oh man.
how did they deal with stuff? Obviously, like I said, you did it on your own, but what was it like? What did your parents do? How did they talk to you about it, or was they hands on? What was that like?
Not at first, Harvey, man, because I would wake up with a basketball, go to sleep with a basketball. I would put an old basketball rim in the backyard on a tree, mess up the grass. My mother used to get real mad about that. She really didn't particularly care about basketball because we grew up in church. I was more of a musician. I was in the
Okay.
choir. I sang. My mom and dad were in ministry for
Okay.
many years. at a
Right.
church called Miracle Faith Temple.
Right.
We traveled a lot. We did a lot of things, choir. We went to different churches, and I was more so in the church than
Right.
basketball. But I had to sneak away from the church to play basketball on
Right.
Sundays. And every day of the week, man, we'd be at church. Except for Saturdays, we get a little time. We get a break in between.
Right.
But I tell you, I personally, I grew up in some good times and some tough times at the same time. If that makes sense, it was simultaneously.
Right.
I was having fun. I was raised up by my mom and my dad. They were very influential in my life as far as the spirituality of my life. But
Right.
as far as sports, my dad never played basketball,
Right.
and he worked for General Motors. And they used to have these like you do those like little basketball outlets where the guys get together and play. They
Right.
thought my dad was a basketball player because I played. And when they
Right.
found out when they picked him to play on their team, they found out he couldn't even make a layup. So they were very disappointed in that aspect. But
Right.
as I
Right.
as I progressed and got better by my senior year, my mom and dad started coming to the games. But one thing I can say, by the time I got to college, they were so proud of me because I was the first one in my family to go
Right.
to college. I had another cousin, Curtis McGriff, who's from Dothan, Alabama, where we're all from. He and
Mhm.
I, he and I were the first ones to go to college in my family. He won. Um, I think if I'm not he won in college at
Okay.
University of Alabama, and he won with the New York Giants. I
Okay.
won in Indiana, and I also won with the LA Lakers. So we
Okay.
have a yeah. So, but my mom and dad were very influential as I got older. As
Right.
I they went to every home game and tried to go to as many road games in the Big Ten. But they weren't gonna go to Michigan and
Right.
go to Iowa 'cause in the wintertime. They weren't gonna do that.
Right.
So
Absolutely not. Right.
they got a chance to see me play and graduate and make some good things happen. So I was very fortunate to have them all my life during my career.
Right. So what was it? What was it like? The recruiting for you. I know you said that you were pretty high up. And what was that like? What was that meeting these coaches and going to these teams and then making that tough decision to be with Bob Knight? What was that like?
Right, right. Well, a lot of people, some people know it, some people don't. My first choice was either Michigan State, UCLA, uh, Purdue was my first choice, actually, the Boilermakers. And um, but what happened during the Indiana All-Star games in high school, I was voted Mr. Basketball. And there
Mhm.
was a couple of guys, there was about 5 or 6 guys on the team who felt like they should have been Mr. Basketball. And so I had to really prove myself to let them know who I was and what I could do. I
Right.
eventually did that, but it was a sore thumb for me because we lost both games against Kentucky. We should have won those games, but I really believe that some of the guys did not really want to play like they should have been playing so we could
Right.
win the games. I had 19 points first game, 21 points second game, trying to be a team player. It never worked out. But the reason why I didn't go to Purdue is because one of the guys that went to Purdue signed first. Had they signed me first, I probably would have went to Purdue, but since they didn't, I told them that was the hardest decision I ever had to make was to leave and go down south to IU so I
Right.
could play against the guys who didn't like me for 4 years. True
Right.
story. But in between that time, I was one of the most sought after high school kids in the nation.
Okay.
Magic Johnson and I ended up playing together in the McDonald's All American Classic in Landover, Maryland. I won the slam dunk contest. I got Eugene Banks won the MVP, but I always thought that I should have been the MVP, but that's a different story. But Eugene Banks was pretty good, and he was a Philadelphia kid, was going to Duke and all that. He was famously known on the East Coast. Had
Right.
this been in the Midwest, like Indiana, I
Right.
probably would have won that thing. But it's all good. It's all water under the bridge now.
Right.
But people would call my house late at night, UCLA, Louisville. I had
Mhm.
a assistant coach, come to my house about 12:30 at night. He got lost, and he had been drinking. He was inebriated, And my mother, being a minister, and my father, being a pastor, did not like that action. And
Wait
they
a-
told him, don't ever come to my house again. And when Denny Crum found out that happened, he fired the guy who came to my
oh,
house.
I'm not understanding. Why did he help me understand? What was his excuse? Did he say anything why he came over like that?
He just said he got lost, but he didn't get lost of
He
drinking that
didn't
bottle,
know.
drinking
He lost
that wine or whatever he
the
had. But yeah, man, stories like that. I got letters and letters. And the thing that really bothered me was that my high school coach would take a lot of my letters and he had threw them away. And I didn't know that. I was getting letters from all kind of colleges, HBCUs,
right,
mid majors, D1, all that. I
right,
just want to collect all my letters and just, have them for memorabilia.
right.
But
Absolutely.
one day, the coach said, Ray, why don't you go in my office and get a whistle? I left my whistle in there. And I happened to look in the drawer, get the whistle, looked down in the trash can. I saw my name on about, it seemed like 13 letters. It said Ray Tolbert. He had opened my letters and looked at them and threw them in the trash.
Wow.
And I said, Coach, why did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ray, you don't need to worry about all them. So he basically threw away all my considerations. I mean, that was my choice to make that. You don't just go into my mail. First of all, that's against the law to go in somebody else's mail. But since he was the coach and
Right,
he
right,
just did what he wanted to do, we had a fallout for a couple of weeks. I wouldn't always say anything to him. I couldn't believe he did that to me. But
right,
water under the bridge, God rest his soul. I ain't mad at him or nothing, but
right,
that's just something that I would never do to my kids. And when I coached, whatever came through the mail, say, here you go, man, check it out. I'm
right,
proud of you. These are opportunities. These are decisions that a young person has to make. One of the most
right,
important decisions that any young person can make is whether they're going to go to college, what college, or they're going to go to the European League, or they're going to
right,
go to the USB, whatever these new leagues are now. There's so many of them now. I
right.
think you might know this, that the number one high school player decided to
It's
go.
yeah.
He's going to
And
the what's that league called?
Well, it's like the D League now, but I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
NCAA need to get their act together, man.
Right.
They losing
Well, you
money,
know what?
but
You know what though? I mean, the good thing about this league that's coming, it's a
mhm,
lot of kids that can't get grades. You know what I mean?
that's
Or
right.
so that's going to open up. Now you got the kids that should have made it. They're going to have an opportunity to make it. You know what I mean? So that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
It might be it's a it's going to be a blessing for a lot of kids, and they're going to make money while they're doing
And even though I believe in education, I believe in making it the way that everybody should make it. But I always believe that if a kid decides to go pro or whatever, put some type of incentive or clause in his contract where he can go back and get some education, man.
it. Right.
Because
Absolutely.
there's one thing that man cannot take away from you. That's education.
Right.
They can take your money and take this and that, whether you stand up for injustice or whatever, you still have an education to fall back on. But I know a lot of these kids, I grew up in poverty, and I can't
Right.
blame these kids for getting out there and doing it, man. I mean, your brother, Al, he did that, man. He's doing good. So I can't blame any guy for going early. There's a lot of guys that play when I played who actually, avoided college and maybe played 1 or 2 years, like Magic played 2 years. My plan was to play 2 years and go pro, but I couldn't do that. Well, that's another story. I'm writing a book. I'm gonna tell that story later on. So
Yeah.
if you want to know more about that, get the book.
You're a good salesman too.
Yes,
Well, I
sir.
look at it like this, man. I look at it like this.
Mhm.
Kids go to school to figure out what you want to be, right?
Right. Yes,
I
sir.
mean, if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to school to be a doctor. If I want to be a plumber, I may not take this school to go there, or I may be able to take a course to get there. But what you're saying is 100% accurate. Is that you should always go back and you know what I mean. Always have the education because you can't take that from.
Fall
But
back on something, man.
you know,
There's an old saying: if you plan, if you fail
what
to
they want to
plan, you
do,
plan to fail. And you should always have a
right,
backup because, like
right,
in any athlete, unfortunately, you're going to have some type of injury. If it's a career-ending injury, what you gonna fall back on? And so
mhm,
I was very fortunate
right,
and blessed to be healthy enough, but I had back injuries. I had this and that. But the most important thing is, man, I was able to sustain and go through it But because of those nagging injuries that I had, I was shipped around. I didn't have one of those prominent contracts like Magic or Bird or guys like that, but I sustained. I was smart. I put my money away. I deferred my money. Now I'm doing pretty good, but still, if you don't have anything to fall back on, man, if you don't plan, your life's gonna be messed up because that money goes quick, bro.
No, I mean, exactly what you're saying. Knowledge is power. I mean,
yes, sir.
You can get into the NBA and start making big money, and you don't know what to do with your money, or you're not paying attention to what's going on, and you don't have a level of education with you, then you're going to lose that money anyway, because there's a lot of people out there that are going to take you for that, and that's the arena that you're in. Talk about IU and Bobby Knight.
True story, man. We were playing. I think it was a sectional game back in '77, and Fred Schaus was the head coach at Purdue at the time. Roger Blaylock, George Favor, who now owns B Windows. They were at one end of the. I didn't know this until later. They told me after the game because I don't never worry about who's there at the game. I just want to play, right? I gave them 44 that night, right? And so after the game, we clowning around in the showers and stuff and everything, getting dressed. And Fred Schaus came in and said, "Ray, good job, man. We can't wait to get you at Purdue." I said, "Right on, coach. I'll see you." Because I had some good friends to this day who went to Purdue. One of my good friends to this day is Walter Jordan. Walter is a great guy, man. Great character. He's doing well down in Atlanta. There was Roosevelt Barnes who hooked up with Eugene Parker, who signed Rod Woodson in football. And a lot of the guys that I know Arnett Hallman is a good friend. We're Facebook friends. Some of the Big Ten guys from Iowa. I'm friends with everybody, man. Just because we played against each other, we competed. But my thing is make friends. Make friends, be friendly. The Bible says, in order to have friends, you must present yourself friendly, and that's what I've always tried to do. But getting back to that story, on the other end, after I talked to Fred Schaus, here come this big figure pulling up his sleeves, walking. Everybody got real quiet. Then why is everybody so quiet? Hey, that's Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight. I'm like, so? And then he said, he bent over. He says, "Tolbert, you're going to IU, and we're going to win a championship. See you later," and walked out. I looked at that dude like, man, I ain't going to IU. He must be out of his mind. And believe it or not, man, because of what happened during the Indiana All-Stars, I ended up going to IU. And so I went from scoring 25 points a game to 10 points a game. So that's another story. That's also in the book. I'll tell you about that later, too. But I must say this much, man, about Coach Knight. The man knew the game. He was more of a general drill sergeant. He didn't play. Whatever he told you he was going to do, he did that. And I honestly can say he kept his word. So he says, when he says it's either my way or the highway, if you're not doing it his way, you better pack your bags and put some gas in your car because you ain't going to be there long. But the man was he's a great coach, great mind. He was very well prepared as far as preparing his players for the game and for life. I give him that much credit. But my game was altered when I went down there. But I dealt with it for 4 years. We won 2 Big Ten championships, an NIT championship in '79, and in 1981 we won the NCAA championship. But what a lot of people don't know is the correlation to that is if I had went to Purdue, played with Walter Jordan, Wayne Walls, Eugene Parker, Joe Barry Carroll, Arnett Hallman, C. Sting, all these great players, the Walker boys, all these guys that played there, I was going to go there. And a good friend Frank Kendrick, man, he was very inspirational. I used to listen to all the Purdue games and go to their camps and stuff.
Right.
These guys were very influential in my life. And like I said, again, we're all decent friends. God rest Eugene Parker. So he was a great guy. Right. But I tell you, man, life has what you plan to do. Sometimes God has a different plan for you. So when I went down to IU, like I said, we won all these championships, but had I went to Purdue, Purdue went to the Final Four in 1980. They beat us down in Kentucky.
Right.
They did for the championship at the NIT in 1979. So had I went to school, I would have been okay. So
Right.
I think my was all right. A lot of people still remember the things I did at IU, but there was a lot of things that Coach Knight took away from me that I get into that later on. But yeah, man, but I was very glad to be able to graduate,
Right.
do some life. Now, I've coached like you have. I've coached. I'm in ministry.
Right.
I'm trying to hook up with Dream Chasers so we can make some out there. Harvey Harris, they told me go do some things with Dream Chasers, baby.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, tell me what was it like playing with Isaiah Thomas? What was it like playing with Zeke? I know him as a coach. Coach Al, and from what I can say, because I love Zeke, Zeke didn't play it with his players big time. I mean, I've seen him getting some guys' faces. What was that like?
Well, I got a couple of stories. There was one player that Zeke didn't mess with. That was the guy you talking to right now.
Absolutely.
He tried me. I said, Zeke, I'm not the one, bro. I'm your teammate. I can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Right.
So there was a couple players in practice. He tried me. I just I said, don't you ever call me that again. So but after that, I got much respect. But the thing about Isaiah, man, growing up in Chicago with the Vice Lords, his mom kept him out of trouble.
Right.
But his older brother, Gregory, called him Gay. He was the leader of the Vice Lords. And that made Isaiah tough. Even though he was small, 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1",
right.
He was tough, man. He had a mindset. He was going to go to DePaul with Mark Aguirre, his best friend to this day, but they had some other guys there in his position. He didn't want to be coming off the bench. Isaiah was a starter. Right. And so when he came to IU, he had a great impact. The kid, he was tough. He was feisty. He wasn't scared. Knight was screaming and hollering. He'd be like, okay. He and Landon had the same mentality, man. Landon said, Coach Knight would say, Landon Turner, don't shoot that shot. Landon like, yeah, okay.
Right, you go shoot it again.
I was more laid back. I was disciplined. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to make everybody else better because I had to play a role because sometimes you have to sacrifice your gifts for the betterment of the team and for the whole, the goal is to win. And so I up a lot. I was a guy that set screens. I rebounded. I passed the ball. But what a lot of people don't know is when we did our four-corner offense, our spread offense, there wasn't the shot clock or the three-point line back when I played. So Coach Knight put me in the middle of the zone to be a ball. I love handling the ball. When I was in high school, man, I get the rebound. I'm magic. I'm coming down, But I saw some things in me that was going to help better our team as a whole, but I had to sacrifice a lot of my points and to make it better for the team. So Isaiah, great kid, great heart. As you know, he went to Detroit and did some great things.
Right.
There were some games where I couldn't believe this kid could do what he did. Even coming back his sophomore year, and his freshman year and his sophomore year after that, there was a quick story. We used to live in the Fountain Park Apartments in Bloomington, and the day we were all getting ready to go to class. I was in my car. Landon had his car, and Isaiah had his little Hornet. So before we left, this was during the NCAA run, and Landon said, he came up to me and said, "Man, this is your last year, man. We're gonna make sure you get it right." And Isaiah said, "I don't know about you, Ray, but I'm out of here."
He's ready to go, huh?
And Landon had an epiphany. Landon said, "Well, shoot, man, y'all get ready to leave. I better get my act together." Right. And from day on, man, Landon did get his act together. And from that day on, we never lost another game.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I think it was July 25th, that same year after that summer, Landon had that accident, and it did everybody, man. Every teammate, the whole country, all of Indiana, even Purdue fans, man, they were like, "Dang, man, kid." It was such a traumatic impact on my life. because I was out in the pro doing the pro-am and, getting my life together, making money. And
Right.
when I found out that Landon had that accident, as soon as the pro-am was over, I came straight to the hospital. I didn't go home. I went to the airport, went straight to the hospital where he was, man. He had this big old harness on his neck, and
Hmm.
it was tough. And he was in and out of consciousness, and I grabbed his hand. I started praying. I said, Landon, wake up, man. It's Yar. He called me Yar. Ray backwards. Yar. Yar, what's up, Yar? And he couldn't talk because he had the tracheotomy in his throat and everything. All he could do was just cry, man. It made me cry. I'm like, dang, Landon, what happened? And then by the time he was able to finally tell me what had really happened, man, it was crazy. But one thing I can say about Landon Turner, man, he's not a quitter.
Right.
Of course, you're going to be depressed, and you had opportunities, but Landon has made the best of his life. I'm proud of him, man. To this day, we're good friends. And but life happens, bro.
Absolutely.
But I'm blessed. I'm fortunate to be in a position that I am in because I don't have to worry about anything. The only thing we got to worry about right now is COVID-19, and I ain't trying to get it, bro. I'm staying home.
It makes sense, right?
Yes, sir. My mama didn't raise no fool.
Right about that. So, man, tell me about getting drafted to the NBA. Was it LA your first destination?
Yeah, but that was there's so much involved here. But let me give you the short version. When we played in NCAA tournament, we was blowing teams out. The first team we played was Maryland. They had Buck Williams, Albert King, Ernest Graham, Charles Pittman, a guy named Manny. They had some great guys. They had about 7 or 8 players that went pro that year. Okay. Right. We beat them by I think it was either 26 points or 28 points. I think we beat them by 29, something like that. I had 26 points. I think I had 13 rebounds, 4 or 5 block shots. They called me for goal 10 on 2 of them. And at that time, man, Ted Kitchen was guarding Buck Williams. I was guarding Ernest Graham because I was quicker on the outside. I was pretty good for a center forward. I was very quick for my size, and I could jump and all that stuff. I was a good defender, and so Buck would come in with that jump hook. I would catch it, and Landon be like, "Yeah, man," And I say, "Hey, Ray, Landon, we gonna run." And so we started running, man. Because we never ran. Knight would not let us run. It's either 5 passes or a layup. We had to stop, run the play, right? Motion offense, 5 passes or a layup. But Knight said, we're going to run during this tournament. And once we did that, Harvey, man, nobody could stop us. But going back to the NCAA, after we won it, the draft came up. And, of course, Mark Aguirre went 1. Isaiah went 2. Buck Williams went 3. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to be up there in that top 10 somewhere because I was getting ready to go to all the workouts and stuff. But some of the coaches at IU persuaded me not to go out there to Las Vegas and work out and train. Right. They said, why risk it? You won an NCAA championship. Right. Well, in my mind, I wanted to get more exposure to what I could really do besides being a defender and a passer, a rebounder. I want to let you know that I could score. Right. And so a couple of All-Star games came up where Paul Silas was coaching at the time the San Diego Clippers. And he saw me play. He says, man, I didn't know you could do all that. I said, yeah. And so he says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to draft you 8. And because he didn't draft me because Donald Sterling had just bought the team and he wanted somebody else. He wanted Tom Chambers. So I was devastated, man, after I found out that I didn't get picked by them. So I ended up 18th pick to the New Jersey Nets after they had drafted Buck Williams. Albert King was 5th. Buck was 3rd. And then I was 18th. I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to play on this team with all this great talent. Right. And so, plus I know they had a little bit of a vendetta against me because we beat them in the NCAA tournament bad, So but I got drafted. Larry Brown didn't really particularly care about me. He might have thought he did, but I know he didn't because I was working my butt off, man, trying to prove that I belong in that upper echelon. But it never
Right.
worked out that way. So I got traded on the road, man. 18 pick in the first round. 3 months with the New Jersey Nets, I got traded on a road trip on a bus. On a
Mm.
bus, bro. I had to go back. We was playing in Houston. Larry Brown said, "Come here, kiddo. You just been traded." I thought I was being pranked. Big rookies always go through some stuff like that. I said, "Are you serious, coach?" He said, "Yep, you've been traded. Good luck, kiddo." That's the last thing he said to me was, "Good luck, kiddo."
Mm.
And so I ended up with Seattle with Lenny
Right.
Wilkins. Played there a couple years, did pretty good, having fun. But then some other trades came along. I got traded at the All-Star break. So I tell you, man, I've been through some rough times. I never got a chance to really get acclimated like I wanted to. I had to keep proving myself over and over again. But I always tell people, no matter what you go through, stay with it. Don't give up. Don't quit. Trust God. Trust the process. And that's what I did. So that's why I'm able to sit in my home and enjoy, even though, we're quarantined, pandemic, all that stuff. I'm
Right.
here because of the grace of God, bro. Honestly.
Absolutely. So you said you won with the Lakers, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you win? You won.
I had went overseas. I played in Italy for a couple
Okay.
years in the European League. I came back.
Okay.
I got a chance to play with the New York Knicks. I signed a make good contract. And at the time, who was it? Well, we had Patrick Ewing. There was Bill Cartwright, playing the center position. I was playing the forward position with Kenny Walker. We
Okay.
had Chris McNeely, um, Gerald Wilkins, Mark Jackson, Trent Tucker. Um, I see so many other names over there, but one name in particular was Pat Cummings. Pat Cummings was a wildflower, man. But Pat Cummings got hurt, and then after he got hurt, Bob Thornton and I was there playing. They kept Bob Thornton and let me go. And
Okay.
2 to 3 days later, I got a call from Jerry West to come out. I was supposed to go out there to trial for a Chinese team. So I
Right.
said, what I got to lose? So I went out there. I said, well, maybe if I can show Jerry West what I can really do, maybe he might sign me. I just said that, right? So for some reason, Harvey, man, I couldn't. I got sick that day, and I must have ate something. I couldn't make a layup. I couldn't make a free throw. I couldn't get off the ground. I was sick, man. The guys from the overseas said, the Chinese league said, "Nah, we don't think we want him." But Jerry West saw something in me, man. He saw the disappointment in my eyes, and he said, "Ray, I tell you what. Uh, I think it was Jeff Lemp had gotten hurt, and Billy Thompson was hurt, and they said
Okay.
we're going to sign you to a make good contract." And he said, "What number do you want?" I said, "Coach, if I would play for the Lakers, I don't care what number you give me. I'm with
Right.
Magic, Kareem, AC Green, Byron Scott, Cooper, Michael Thompson, Kirk Rambis. I'm with the Lakers, man. Give me any number." And so I got with those guys, and it was like, I think I was there like the first 3 months, the first 3.5 months, and then I was happy. I was playing. We had won 12 games in a row. I was coming off the bench, man. You know me, I'm coming down hard dunking because I had a 39-inch vertical, man. I was letting Magic knew I could play because we played together, like we said in high school at the McDonald's All American. Magic knew I could play.
Right.
So I was very fortunate to be with Showtime, but unfortunately, when Billy Thompson came back and Jeff Lemp came back, they had to let somebody go. At the same time, man, Michael Cooper went down with a bad ankle injury, and so they had to make room for all that to happen. So they had to let me go, and I ended up with the Atlanta Hawks. But
Right.
there was only two people that voted me on for that championship that year. It was Magic Johnson, and it was the logo, Jerry West.
Okay.
Those two voted me on to get my ring and a percentage of my money. I never forgot that. And I
Wow.
said, Lord, whatever you do for Magic, make sure he lives his best life for being such a good heart,
Right.
and helping a guy like me out. And I never forgot that, man. So whatever Magic does, I'm happy for him. Seriously. And Jerry West.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, man, what do you?
I went long, man, but I want you to see the story that's going to be in my book.
That's hey, we're gonna build that up. We're gonna make it a bestseller.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So what are you doing now, man?
Well, I was coaching, but I'm like you, Harvey, man. I want to train. I'm in the training. I have my own website called TolbertBasketball.com, and I want to remodify that because of the way things are now, because of the pandemic.
Right.
I'm not, doing anything financially right now, and it's been tough. But I was working for Indiana Virtual Online School, but that shut down last August.
Okay.
And I haven't been employed since then, but God is good, bro. But I want to get back into training. I want to work with dream chasers, or whoever I can work with to make some things happen. That's what I want to do because I'm still bench pressing 275, bro. I mean, come on now. I want to let these young boys know. A lot of times when you try to tell young people how to do it, sometimes you got to get out there and show them how to do it. And I'm still able to do that. I'm blessed. Even at my age, I tease a lot of people. I think it was a friend of mine, Josh Gilbert. He has a son, Ziggy, who's going to be going pro pretty soon. And Tony Cole, who works for, I think it's Elite Basketball Elite. He always talks about, yeah, man, Ray Tolbert can still dunk. They say, Ray, can you still dunk? I said, yeah, but not like I used to. I still put it over the rim, man, but it's a struggle. But God is still good, man. I'm blessed. I want to get back into coaching somewhere. I would prefer either a high school level or a college level. If I can get to the pros with Mike Woodson, those guys, I would be blessed to do that. But whatever the Lord has in store for me, man, I just want to do that. But right now, I'm into ministry. I help out in Anderson because of the pandemic. Nobody's been in church about 2 or 3 months, and it's been tough. But it's tough on everybody, man. But the good Lord has us all in his hands, and he's still in control, and I'm just going to wait on him. So, but as far as what I'm doing right now, I'm just downstairs playing my music, man. I play bass guitar, like you heard earlier, keyboard. My daughter plays bass guitar. She sings. She plays keyboards. We just try to hold on our skills until church opens up again. So we want to be ready for that. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. Last question, man.
Yeah, man.
If you had any type of inspiration for any young kids that's watching, high school, college, maybe a young kid that aspires to be a high school, college, or NBA player, what piece of advice would you give them?
First thing I would tell them is this: trust God. Live a good life. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from alcohol. Do the right thing. Get your education. Never give up on your dream. Never give up on your passion. You might have to go a different route like I did, but I never gave up. The most important thing is, man, never give up on yourself, because if you give up on yourself, you give up on a lot of people potentially in your life. Miles Monroe once said, the richest place the richest place on earth is at the graveyard. I said, graveyard? He says, yeah, because a lot of ideas have been wasted. A lot of passion has been given. A lot of people quit that are in the graveyard right now because they give up on their dreams. Like dream chasers, you never give up, man. Never give up on your dreams, your inspiration, your hope. Even though if it's a financial challenge, if it's a physical challenge, whatever it is, man, believe in yourself, and I guarantee you, it'll work out for the better. For whatever you're trying to do in life, never give up. So that'd be my best advice to young people. Stay away from peer pressure. Stay away from promiscuity. Stay in God's word. That's what I tell kids. Be inspirational. Be motivational. But the most important thing, man, is don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. You might get knocked down, but you got to get back up.
Right. Appreciate you, Ray. Man, thanks for coming on.
All right, dream chasers, we coming. All right, bro, man.